Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome back to the Knowledge Hub session presented by Ujjain Smart City Incubation Center. My name is Ankit Rajak, and I am a startup and entrepreneurship expert at Ujjain Smart City Incubation Center. And today we are starting a very important and very useful workshop, that is human resource workshop, specially designed for our startups community. Today we have as a resource person Miss Piyush Yadav. So, ma'am, we welcome you on behalf of Ujjain Smart City Incubation Center to the
Thank
to
you,
the
Ankit.
very first day of Human Resource Workshop.
Thank you, Ankit.
So, human resource is the first and primary important thing when we start any work. So, for a startup, it is also very essential how you have a practices by using you build your team. So the objective of these 3 days workshop is to aware you the different practices of human resource, how you hire a good employee in your team, how you retain them, how you plan incentive policy for them, and how you optimize the performance of your team. So by these 3 days, we will cover a different topics, but today we have a very first topic, that is best practices to hire a good team in your startup. So for day one, we have Miss Piyush Yadav, and let me give you a quick introduction to our today's speaker. And it's give me an immense pleasure to welcome ma'am in the very first day of our human resource workshop. So, Miss Piyush ma'am have a 9 year of experience in corporate training. She is award-winning educator, corporate trainer, and right now she is a founder of Elite Wing Academy. She is an internationally accredited academia recognized by NIST ICI for high training standards. She also had a global impact and trained 100 plus students through her webinar and workshop. So once again, we welcome you, ma'am, and we look forward to have your vision and your knowledge who will inspire our startups through the day one session. So we look forward to start our today's session with you. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you for the warm welcome and the greeting, and thank you everybody who is watching us or watching later on. So, thank you everybody. Thank you for today's session for the HR practices startup building a strong team and culture from day one. I'm very thrilled and excited to connect with you all. Today we have exploring the startup, build a strong HR foundation right from a start and with the limited resources. So many youngsters and young people want to build their startups. They will want to do their own business with innovative idea. I hope today's session webinar will help you. Now many startups focus on the product marketing and funding, but often forget the people is a part in a reality. So human resource, that is HR, plays a vital role over here. HR isn't about the form of policies, or it's about the people, purpose, and performance. And earlier you will get a right feaster if you scale into the confidence. So right people at the right time and the right profile help you to bring a stronger connect with your team and to build a very good organization, a strong built organization. So, without wasting our time, let's focus on today's interactive session. Over here, we will be viewing what what this session cover us, that is core building HR blocks. Every startup should from over day one they should be knowing how we're going to recruit, onboard, and retain the right team and resources, because many often we have seen the startup fail to sustain their employees, their team. Okay, and the way they build to sustain a culture, everybody wants a very good culture and the enjoyable rather than toxic boss and toxic culture, and tools and framework and quick win to implement immediately. So we will be covering these sessions and hope you will able to find something valuable in it. Now, without wasting our time, let's understand why HR matters in a startup. Let's begin with the question: how many of you feel HR is something startup and worry about after being grown? Now, most of the people think that once my company will be uh, big and it will be successful and it have a growth capacity, then we will focus on HR policy, legal compliances, recruitment department, and so on. So, in the initial only, you should set a startup of HR as a department of human resources, because they are the people who will be recruiting or hiring for your company. So, it shouldn't be neglected or being ignored. That's a common belief. But the truth is, HR is not a department, but is a mindset. Okay. So every decision you make about the people, hiring, boarding, or recognition, or giving performance appraisal, or giving a promotion to the members of the team. So you need to understand you are not just doing the company activity, you are making a shaping of a company, a beautiful company culture, right? So you need to understand why HR is important at the beginning of a level in the startups also. And even if you have an organization, we are failing, where your people are leaving the jobs, not able to sustain, and you're not able to find a good talent to be survival, you should be redesigning your work culture. There's a report by study in a LinkedIn found 78% of startups fail due to poor team dynamic or culture issue. We have often seen people saying that I do not want to work in this culture. It's a drain, or it's a brain drain for me. It's exhausting for me. I don't feel I'm feel drained. I'm feel monotonous. I don't feel any career growth, right? So not lacking of funding, but due to culture issue, the right talent just the leave. So there's a loss of a way huge to the company when a right talent exists from the company or the organization. Another global survey says company with a strong culture sees 3x higher retention than a 2x faster revenue growth. So if you have a good example, if it is Netflix or the Googles, they have a good retained system, right? Because the culture speaks the volume, and that's why somebody from Microsoft, IBM, or Google, or Netflix, or name any 500 Fortune companies, they do not wish to leave their companies. Why? Because the culture speaks, the foundation speak, and all this culture, foundation, employee engagement is is governed by the HR department, that is human resource. That's why it's very important to understand the HR, why it's important. Right now, we understand the hidden threat, right? So hidden threat is something, if you have conflict problem issues or legality, who will gonna see? The CEO, the manager will not take. There's a separate department, HR will look after. HR will fix the policies, the pay structures, the performance, the leaves, the compliances, PF, pension, and everything. The HR build the foundation of the growth. And HR is also the founder dilemma, that is startup founder juggle with the constant responsibility, right? So even if you are starting a founder, you cannot do everything your own. You need to lend your people to do. You have to delegate your work to the people who are rightly responsibility for that profile or that departments, right? And HR plays the huge role, because HR take the half of the burden of the founder, CEO, CEO, right? So you need to understand that. Defining your startup culture, you need to define your startup how. So let's talk about the essential HR building over here. Now define your mission, visions, and value. When its company start, they should be having their mission, vision, and value. That set a culture start with the clarity, that what you are focused on, what you are asking yourself, what you're asking for your employees, and what is your ethics, the value you are creating amongst your company culture. So what behavior do you want to see daily? That's become a guidelines, so that's become your mission, vision, and value. Now it's may make it very simple, right? Very simple policies you have today. You do not have to need a 50 page of handbooks to write the basics writing. Okay, for example, work timing should be there. There should be no over overworking time, which often startups fail. So the startup think if they hire someone, they should be like employees has been full time like 24/7. No. You should be, as a startup, everybody wants a work life balance, right? So you need to understand that simple policies, the leave policies, the timing culture policy, the events and activities, the code of conduct can also handle very smoothly and can avoid many conflict, as well as can avoid many toxic culture of the offices. Now, most of the startups which I have worked in, that I worked on almost a five startup tech company, and with my experience, I can say that often because of lack of values, ethical values, and there's a lack of working system which is not aligned very properly, or micromanagement, they end up losing it out. So you have to be very much balanced towards your employer-employee relationship. Apart from this, you should need a legal basics, right? HR defines all the legal compliances, from the copyrights, from the legal policies, the PF, the company acts and rights, to many things they have to acquire, right? Offer letter, appointment letters, appraisal letter to the employees, issuing the notes, leave exits, everything, right? So you need to understand that anything that protect both you employee was and the employers and the company, missing this can be a serious issue while growing your startups, right? That's why it's very important to do not underestimate the HR department or the human resources, because if any company is unethical or legally or something chaotic happen and they are not able to you have a legal system, right? You have to be registered in the act of law, and if anybody do the something case or fraud case, or you've been frauded, you can always be in a healthy care, and that's where the HR takes care of. And that also defines the company culture. So all the legality is done by HR. That's why it is the foundation of HR also. Any company which startup, it should be in a binded with the rules and laws as per the government. HR not only built a basic HR tracker, but even a simple Excel sheet can create a attendance, salary, performance, grow. And now there's a lot of Zoho. Have you heard about? Even the government is also approaching for Zoho, right? So you can go Zoho, which are and number of CRM tools are there, and which is made for policies and paychecks and payroll module is there. So startups can also be make it very easier by purchasing these AI tools, so that their startup policies or their startups roles, all the formalities legally is on the data is up to date. Okay. Now many of you starters, what they do, they think of doing these apps or tools, CRM tools later on. They do not want, they are more focusing on building it out. But from an initial start, if you put your data in a very accurate and very formatted way, you will be not facing any legal or any kind of certain issues in your startup at the beginning. So that's why it's very important to build your culture very, very wisely. Coming to next, there is a hiring process and culture. Now, hiring is a heartbeat of any startup or any organization. One wrong hire can slow down the entire team. So you should be knowing that even if your budget of a company or a startup is very low, you do not need to be a very panic in hiring. Okay, you do not have to rush to urge to complete those fill. It's very important. No matter how much delayed time it's taking to acquire the right candidates, you can always take your time. Do not hire someone with the under pressure people, or very not being clear. Thus you want to showcase that you have someone in that department, you are hiring the wrong inexperienced and a less experienced person should be avoided in this case. You need in a hiring process, you should write now you need to understand the exact profile a person or a person you are recruiting can fulfill that profile's responsibilities, and what add on it can be apart from his regular job work. Okay, so hire for attitude and train for skills. You can always go for the attitude or positive attitudes. Okay, employee are a trainer, they are skill of new trainers, they can be hiring, right? They can always rebuild their new skill, you can always train them for a skill. But right attitude of mindset you need to understand when you are hiring some employee or the any employer person in your for your organization. In early stage you want people who are adaptable, curious and resilient, not just experts. So you have to look beyond your CVs to someone on a specific job. Okay, there should be curiosity, they should be add on something to the value to the organization or team, and they should be able to take the risk at their own individual responsibility apart from team. That's how an employee grow, and if an employee grow, ultimately the organization grow. Second thing is assign a people person. What do you mean by that is at the early stage designate someone with a maybe a part-time work. Okay, you need not need to be full-time. Okay, it can be a freelancer, you can go ahead and you can see how they manage, communicate and build a team, and how what is the set of values in terms of they are when involved in your team. Okay, and when you feel it's time for the very full time and they can go and take in a full time position, you can go ahead and if you want to impressed by them and they're impressed by your company culture, the values, your work system, then it's a win-win situation, right? Startup may not hold a fancy salaries, right? You as a startup, if you had a budget less, you cannot give a person who's seeking a 15 to 18 lpa, right? If your budget is less, so they are not a fancy salary people. So you can always offer them the ownership, learning and making them you need to make them feel that you are a part of organization, not by employee but as a partner also. So you have to lend some ownership to them. The many startups fail because of this, because they do not want to give the ownership, they only want to control it. And when organizations try to control the employees, they often fail in that. So you need to give their authority to take the decisions, to handle the situations, even if you in your absence also. And that's how they feel responsibility and rightfulness towards your organization. You need to structure your interview process. How do you structure your interview process? Basically you have a three stage, at least three stage. One is screening, other is technical round or case study round or any kind of HR round, and a third is a last with the CEO or the founder of anything. So it goes three way of interviewing, where you can assess someone's skills, whether it's culture fit or not, whether the working style is matching with your profile, whether the person attitude and behavior is matching with your company culture or not. So you should always not go for one interview round, always go for three interview round. And if you want individually or the panel are the most welcome. Basically when you hire someone, think of hiring in terms of behavioral, how approachable they are, how problem solver they are, and how much they can take a feedback, and not as a feedback is defensive mode, but how much they can take on constructive feedbacks. Because when we review the performance as an organization, many people get depressed and low productivity because the feedbacks are being not so good, right? And they do not take up feedback as a positive manner, right? So they need to you need to understand that how much constructive feedback they can take so that they can improve and work more good and in improvised way, rather than leaving and thinking of quitting the jobs. Now when we hire someone, we need to onboard something. Now company run in a two bases, one is onboard and second is retention. Onboarding is something which a formality is done by the HR. Here, the HR play a vital role. Even in retention, it's also take a vital role. Once someone joined, the first 30 days shape their impression forever. Okay, by pre-boarding. Send them welcome email, company intro, and day by day. Now, how you build a relationship when someone's already, now you want to onboard, or you are welcoming someone to your company, right? Making a part of your organization as a setup. When if it's a startup company, you need to be more welcoming, okay, more warm towards the employee who gonna enter in your organization and making you fulfill your goal, right? His goal and your goal together, an organization goal is fulfilled. So, pre boarding, send them a thank you or a greeting, welcome apart from joining letter, offer letter, apartment, this one, and they plan to plan activity. You can also assign a buddy, also someone who can guide it them. What is the first day look? Someone who can tell them that what are the formality, policy, team members to make them introduce, make them first day very welcoming, warm, make them understand the culture, introduce the value system early with what you are expecting, what is the value of the organization, what you're looking forward to it, and ask the hire what they are working for and what not. So you need to be a feedback loop also. You need to understand that what they are looking into you and what you are looking and expecting from them. So it's like a loop that you need to understand. The more the interaction in the ideas, terminologies, opinions, and suggestions, the more the team building of new hire people will trust you. And that's why when the people started trusting, as an employee started trusting on an organization, they feel a part of sense of a part of the organization. The culture isn't what's written on the wall, it is what's practiced in the meeting. You need to understand that the onboarding is also the meeting. You know, many meetings are very serious and very crucial, and some meetings are very fun loving. For example, IT versus other sector. IT people have funds in there because the bosses are free go happy go lucky meeting and the work culture, right? Apart from other departments. So that's why we say culture isn't what's written on the wall, it's what's practiced in meetings, the feedbacks, and the celebrations. So when you onboard someone, make sure there's a part, they are part of organization. Okay, make them a partner, feel it. A simple rituals like a Friday wins or the Monday motivation can create even remote team, can virtual coffee chats and so on. So depending upon if you are in a offline mode or online mode, so you have to be in a very ziptic chemistry. Now if you have figured out the onboarding, how to do a right candidate, we have understand a continuous feedback loop, the annual reviews, the performance chart, the appraisal, what goes wrong in the quarterly months. You have to be in a feedback, and it will. And when you go to the feedback mode or meeting or feedback or appraisal, make sure it's more constructive rather than complaining. Okay, as a startup, you need to understand that how constructive can be rather than complaining why this work is not done or why you have been shortlisted by this or why the shortage of the products or clients or profits, right? You need to analysis that it's not their company but they are the part of the company to make you help you grow. So you need to understand your feedback should be on a constructive matter. Apart from that is a Zeppo commitment. What is Zeppo commitment? Zeppo is famously offer new hire 200,000 unit to dollars to quit after onboarding. The more move ensure only the truly committed employee stays. So basically it says that sometime you need to understand that who is loyal towards your organization and who is just doing the time pass, right? So sometimes you have to make a bold movement to understand the how which person is more committed towards your organization and towards you, so that loyalty is not the stakes. Like in many startup we have seen many a time they come and they leave, they come and leave, and they come and leave. They're not interested, they for the sake of experience they come and for the sake, but there are very few who actually wants to start with startup and hold hard experience till they have a success. So as a right person in a HR, this is the criteria to find the right person at right time at right profile. So HR play a vital role over here. Building trust, autonomy, and ownership, it's very very important. So how to build a trust on this? Replace fear with the trust. Okay, now often a time we have seen that Startups usually make a mistake of micromanagement. What is micromanagement? If someone wants to talk to CEO or the founder, there's a hierarchy that someone reporting boss, another reporting boss need to report, and then the person will. So you cannot directly, if you have an idea, opinion, and suggestion, you cannot directly say to them, right? So avoid micromanagement as much as you can. The leadership skill, you need to promote them. If a newbie in your organization's coming and empowering and making a decisions and it's saying it's working out, please welcome and motivates the new ideas, new opinions. Such this your culture should be more flexible and more enjoyable, and they feel actually the sense of responsibility and a little bit of sense of power that they can take a decision. Many startups also fails because they, as I already told you, the owners want their ownerships. Okay, they want to be like bossy boss, but things get messed up. Not everything can be managed. Give them a liberty, give them a little bit of responsibility of taking decisions. So even if it's right or wrong, they will take a responsibility. It's very important. The clear ownership of outcome. Give employee the ownership of specific outcome. At least you can give for the projects they are working it out, the profile and the projects they have been. Reward them if they have done something good. Hold them accountable. A small events you can conduct for praising them, a small little thing of them, they build a culture, because they do not just want to work 9 to 5, 9 to 6, or 9 to 8 job, right? They want something more from their bosses and the organizations. Else there are plenty of job in the organization, but how much culture oriented, how much fun loving, how much productivity you can gain at the same time in the this many startup fail, and that's how HR help in employee engagement. There's this employee engagement, L&D, learning and development, training them. Trainers, corporate trainers comes and train them. So there's a lot of HR play a vital role in this. Align distribute team, hybrid team, offline main, any kind of team it is. So you need to understand that you have to align and distribute. It's very important that you need to distinguish, like this team will do this set of work and other team do the set of work. You cannot multi mix the group. So many of time what happen in a startup is one person is a five different department working, right? Or maybe a 2 3% doing the same thing, and they are doing the other thing in the same department also, because of shortage of people. And because of that they had a overwork, overdue times, and they frustrated. And they are not much productive. Time management, conflict resolutions, and the productivity gets become the hindrance, right? So you need to understand the right set of distributed time. Set an alarm. Okay, three people will be doing this particular performing a job, that means three people are doing, no other will be gonna interfere. What happened in this case? There's a distributed team, so nobody gonna interfere someone's other works. There will be a policy of work ethics. There's no politics in where there's no favoritism there, or bias there, which raise the question to the founder, employee, or the work culture. So you need to very much align and define the uh, team. Distribution of team is very important. Now HR plays a very vital role in legal compliances. Now what is the legal compliances over here is, um, the first time of defense. Okay, now if somebody have backfire you, or any employee has some any kind of false accusation on you, or they are not happy, or the employee contract they want to terminate with you, then where you going to fight, right? Where you can go and have the justice for it. So they are playing play an important role, where HR play a legal appliances and risk management they take under this. So that's why employee contracts are made, offer letter is made, appointment letter is there, legal terminology is there, something is void in the contract, and they takes any actions to be taken if something goes wrong, right? HR makes a duty that every law, as per the updated, they need and follow. For example, posh training is now mandatory for all the companies or startups, as well as now it's important, that is prevention of sexual harassment. boys versus girls. There's no point of gender over here, but they should be doing this training as the law of the government, right? They should be having an ICC member. Who will keep the updates over here? The HR will keep the updates over here. Who will inform? The HR will form the legal. So your data should be previously should be uh, is safe hand. It's been safety, your workplace in safety. Somebody gonna give you a threat that they will take your data, or somebody copyrights your data. So legal appliances will take care, and HR is the main where they take care of these legal appliances. Prevention of safe money, the transactions of which you give employee salary, or you're getting a client transaction from any kind of projects, or you're getting a fund from you cannot go from your own account, right? You should have a proper company account registered by the by the bank, and accordingly you will pay that salary to them. Who will take care of legal compliances? The HR takes the care of this legal compliances. You need to understand that HR is not only the hiring, recruiting, giving offer letter. Okay, they not only interview people, but they take care of many things. How? For example, legal appliances, employee engagement activity, hiring the people, making the maintenance of the payroll, paychecks, right? Supporting the well-being and inclusive culture. Now it's very very important how to support. So when you actually hire an HR person or set up a full HR team, typically once you cross like 20 to 25 employees, start managing across multiple locations. Okay, and before that, founder can handle the HR, and that's two. So what basically is like, if you're opening a startup and suppose you want someone from Bangalore, Delhi, and you start up in the Gurgaon, or I mean like Mumbai, so there's a multiple thing. So startup a culture often glorify and burn out productivity and retention because of flexibility schedule, the stipend you pay during the internship, the time off and on, the work culture of timing, workplace of timing, that is very very important. So your culture not only defined on what you provide, like what you provide in terms of salary, but other than salary, what else you provide, add on to your company, to your employee who are working day and night to make you achieve your own company goal. Because your if your company is in profitable stake, only then you can provide them a salary. And they are not just looking just for the salary, they are looking something more growth in your life. Okay, in their life basically. So you need to understand that you need to be very time management bounded. You do not make someone's delay in the salary, or making a juggling in their offer letter, forming letter, or revealing letter. Now, foster diversity inclusion. What does mean by that? That your DNA through international hiring criteria, reserve an interview panel, and clear discrimination policy. So you have often seen that there's a if anyone have gone through to the offer letter and appointment letter, there's a lot of legal terminologies, discrimination, gender biasness, disability, PF fund, pension funds, a background checking, many things has been asked, right? So you are doing a startup for post in a small country or small state or a city, but you are doing a company startup in a vision of making it global. Maybe one day it become a MNC, right? You will be working with a many different foreign countries people, right? And becoming an MNC, multinational. So you should be understanding the output of the policies, the work culture, the terminology, because Indian versus other foreign country, the legal policies are very much different in terms of working culture, in terms of working policy, right? So anyone who is in a thinking of mind of keeping the organization or starting the organization, they always keep in a bigger picture of once it will be globally. So you need to understand that you shouldn't be a gender bias, or you should be creating a discrimination in the gender basis, or in any kind of disability, or any kind of veterinary or non-veterinary things which is mentioned legally in the job applications. Culture drive the performance is very very important. On which culture practice you are playing in your organization holds the value of an hold the value of foundations. You should be innovative, You should be a psychological safe. You should be no pressurizing boss. You should be very much engaging. You should be flexible. You will be reachable, should be there. You basically, a boss or a founder should be accessible during the startup, basically, because when you do the startup you have a very limited team, and you cannot be have a boss attitude. I understand a boss can be, a founder can be strict, but you should be as well as accessible to the lower people of your management team also, that if they wish to say something or suggest something, you should also accept it, because they are the front layer of your team. They know the basic and authentic feedbacks what is going in a market, right? Because they are actually working it out. So rather than ignoring them, accept their ideas, be accessible to them, and ask them whether they need a suggestion, opinions, and give them. Okay, and take them also, and work on the both the bases on very productively way. Now scaling the HR tech. Now there's many tools are there for HR, and once you are a startup person, you should be knowing this also. Okay, now HR no more work on a Excel sheets. So you need to understand that investment in HR platform is very important. So you can have lot of tools like Bamboo HR. There's other companies provided as SAP HR or the Zoho HR, which reduces the administration power. So you do not have to make a data. You do not have to. It's all system based. Okay, so what happened, it's very clear cut. Not every time they're coming to the HR and asking how many leaves are there, when is the holidays there, I want a leave. No, no, no. If your system is very good, because we are looking at AI system right now, but if your system is very good, they can see it out, right? They can see in their dashboard that how many leaves are there, how much they can apply. They can directly by the dashboard they can apply, and the reporting manager can approve or rejects. So not every time they have to work on the emails also, right? So even in starting the process, and the startup should more focus on the HR software. Okay, what they do, they do this thing. Okay, let's go for 6 months, and then by the time the 6 months one come, we will purchase the software. But do not do that. These softwares are not so much expensive, one time investments. So you need to focus on more on it. Uh, okay
Piyush, ma'am, can we take a one query?
yeah.
Mostly in startups, like some of the teammates are Gen Z and they have their own way of contribution. So how we
Right.
adopt these all practices?
Very good. See, the Gen Z are more productive people. They feel like more culture vibes and productive people. So you have to act accordingly towards the startup culture. Okay, they are not the people like people who like earlier's boss or boss culture where their bosses sit by 7 o'clock, so you have to sit there. So you need to focus on how much work they are providing and what kind of work, the quality of work providing. If they're finishing the 5 hours job into the 2.5 hours or 3 hours, and still providing a productive and quality work, then Gen Z do not have a problem, and you shouldn't be having a problem. The happier your employee will be, the happier, the more productive projects you will be getting delivered. Okay, you do not want someone who is very depressed and gloomy person coming to your office and cribbing, because you want quality in your work, right? Because quality of work define the work culture. And if you're giving them a freedom and flexibility of working hours which everybody wants, then your quality is not effective. And that's how organizations stay with the sustainable employee or the team. Else you will find too much people leaving at your job in an initial startup or many good startups also. Right.
Right, very
Sales
true.
is one. Yeah, sales is one of the department where we keep on hiring. Sales is, I believe, sales is the only department where I always see never ending hiring. They always hire every day, because the too much of handling of process, overtime, due to time, right? So they are not able to do that, and that's why they shift for more something good culture. They do not leave because of bad salary, but more of not so good culture in the offices. So you should know the art of being retaining your employee, having a good culture.
Right. We can continue with our slides and then we can have a few more
Yeah,
questions if we permit.
Okay. So basically, the HR, as I already told you, you should be having a HR success. Like Ankit already talked about the Gen Z, right? So Gen Z do not have a habit of going the mail or something. They need a dashboard. They need a cool dashboard system which actually give take a half of their burden. So that's why the HR softwares are there. They build a process. There's a hierarchy. The clear promotions. So they can get an analysis of the projects, what they are doing, what they are not doing. Not every time boss have to come and tell you you're not working. They have a system of analysis. You should be figuring out as an employee that where you're going wrong and what is the sustainability at for you also. Early investment pay off, right? So like already told you that if you want something, right, if you want something, do not go for later on, because the more the data secure in an initial stage of your life, of your company startups, the more legality clarities will be there and more legal things, and you will be justified by it. And you can always have this kind of software help you why they gone through, and you can always analysis on that also. Okay. The HR takeaway: building startup people want to join and stay. Now, 23% fail from a team. Get HR becoming the part of the statics. 2x retention boost, strong culture and HR practice double the employee retention rate, and 100% of foundations of international success in the stage of sustainable growth. Basically, this says it 23% startup fail because they do not have a good fit trainers in team. Like the team is not good enough in terms of they haven't hired, maybe the hiring process is wrong, or maybe the culture value, or what you're expecting too much and they are not able to deliver it. So the hiring process, something if goes wrong, your startup team, by building a team, it actually collapses. Now, there's 2s3 advantage. Many startup face a retention means people leaving the jobs. Okay. And you can see, and this, I mean, in India there's a lot of startups are there, and we can see many startups growing, shut down, because the employee do not want to stay. And one of the reason is the culture, maybe a salary culture, I mean salary distribution, or the working style, the work timing, or the boss, or they are not able to understand that, because everybody in a startup wants a profit. They want that whatever they have invested, at least they get a ROI and initial spoil. But you need to understand, at least 3 years in the down the line, as a startup you need to build a base foundation where you have to be a visibility in terms of employee, in terms of market where you stands. And 100% foundation of HR practices. So now there are a lot of Silicon Valleys in USA that they have a startup and some boost there also, right? What is the difference between they are boosting and we are lacking behind, right? So you need to understand the agile practices that can make and build a strong team and make them stay. Okay, that's why the big companies like Google, CEO, Adobe, if you have had an interaction, you can just go. They do not want to leave their job, and they do not even they do not want to they do not want to like quit. We hardly see they are quitting the jobs. They do not, they love to be staying there, because if you just go and watch you in YouTube, the Google office, the see, and you just fascinated what they are doing. As a startup, I'm not saying you build a Google office. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying as a startup you should build something comfortable and flexible for environment, so they come and enjoy. Once employees started coming and enjoying it out now, your productivity in workplace improve. They enjoy working it out, and when they enjoyed, your company in a more profitable, because they're delivering on time, they are happy, they are productive. So that's it for today. Thank you. If any Q&A, we can take it out. And I guess
Right.
there's a Q&A also.
So, Piyush ma'am, there is one more regular query which we got as incubation center.
Hmm.
Like usually startup start with one or two founders, and
Hmm.
in the early days they have a lot of work related to their
Hmm.
product and service. They need to devote
Hmm.
more attention on the tech part, their
Right.
business functionality. So, what is the correct time to have a responsible HR, or from day one they need to bear this role from themselves only.
No, like today's topic is that only. That from a day one you should hire something. Once your legal formality, your startup, everything has been on legal and paper, and from a day one it start operating it out, and you're hiring a team. The first thing you should do is to hire the HR, because HR will take the half of burden of employee complaints, the payroll, the offer letter, everything apart from legal formalities and everything, because you will be busy making the clients, right? And you want someone on your behalf that may give the mail to them, handle the meeting with give appointment to someone. So as a founder, if you are doing the whole solely thing, you are doing whole, you're not delegating. The more you delegate your work, the more productivity will be there, because you are giving half burden to someone to do it, right? So if you're giving a 80% work of homework to your brother, you have 20 percent to be more focused on the main project, main homework, for example, right? So you will be more focusing on building the client, which is as an initial state of startup. It's very important to have a client building. So according to me, if you are starting within a 15-20 days, once your whole setup is done, make sure you have a HR who can hire. It's not necessary you keep highly experienced HR, but at least you should have minimum uh, 2 to 3 years experience of HR who understand all legal formality compliances and give you suggestion what ad can be done. Because you maybe any startup you with minimum at least you have a 10 members, right, to handle it.
So we have some question from our viewers.
Yes,
क्वेश्चन
please.
है कि हमें सेल्स के लिए फ्रेश हायरिंग करनी चाहिए, उसको ट्रेन करना
Hmm.
चाहिए, या हमें एक्सपीरियंस्ड पर्सन ही हायर करना चाहिए?
See, if your budget allowed, you can do the experience training. But I give you a suggestion first of all. You can hire the experienced trainer, not very much experienced trainer, because अगर आपका budget नहीं है, if your budget do not falls for giving that salary, you have minimum of 2 to 3 years experience of sales training. And if you want to hire the fresher, hire as an intern, as a under the internship, and give them a stipend. And you can pick up the colleges and you can tie up the colleges for that MBA colleges, and you can tie up and they say you could provide a the internship and a certain amount of stipend if you're not able to purchase, I mean if you're not able to hire the full-time employees. But at least you should have 1 or 2 full-time sales employment, and under that you can manage 5 or 6 interns in that make your work more productive.
So we have another question from Adarsh. एक
Hmm.
छोटी टीम में रेगुलर कम्युनिकेशन एंड कोलैबोरेशन कैसे मैनेज किया जाए?
Okay. In small team, how can you the small team? It is the better the communication is. Now it's important how occasionally you do the occasionally you do the meeting. Now it's a small team that you doesn't mean you need a regular meetings. Okay. अगर आपकी छोटी टीम है तो जरूरी नहीं है कि आप रोज रोज मीटिंग ले मीटिंग्स, क्योंकि बहुत फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग हो जाती है कि आज अभी तो बोला है अब मैं कल क्या दिखाऊंगा, राइट? So give your employees also a time limit. For suppose Monday start afresh, Saturday take the reporting of a week. Okay, so that's how you can manage the reports. Okay, on a collaboration basis. The more you give a time slot to work with them, the more they have time slot to explain you, and that's how the communication build happen. And if you go formal or informal events like going for team building together for lunch, because sometimes you can go off for informal way also, like just like not talking office chats, just hanging around to making it more trustworthy with your colleagues and friends. Once in a time, once in a 6 month or quarterly, you can do outdoor events also.
So one more query which we regular have from startups.
Mhm.
In the early
Mhm.
days, they didn't follow the standard practice. Like they didn't give the proper offer letter. They didn't give the proper
Hmm.
kind of NDA and proper kind of agreement. They just
Hmm.
allow them to have any kind of intern in their team. So, what piece of advice you want to suggest for such practice?
Yeah. Please do not do that because it give you bad of mouth. If something goes wrong and it's not work it out, because बिकॉज अगर मैं एम्प्लॉय हूँ, मैं ऐसे स्टार्टअप में जा रही हूँ जब मुझे ऑफर लेटर कुछ नहीं मिला, मुझे बोला आप बस काम कर लो, हम तो आपको एक लास्ट में एक इंटर्नशिप ऑफर दे देंगे, राइट? काफी स्टार्टअप होते हैं, बट वो नहीं दे पाते। ओके, देते ही नहीं, बिकॉज उनको शो ही नहीं करना होता है। तो व्हाट देयर इज अ लॉस फॉर द एम्प्लॉय, इंटर्न एम्प्लॉय, क्योंकि वो दूसरी कंपनी में जाना चाहे, दिखाना चाहे अपना वर्क एक्सपीरियंस, तो वो शो ही नहीं कर पाएगा, right? And if you start a company, which is obviously, if you're a startup, there should be legal formalities you have completed, right? That's why you're able to start something new. अगर कोई चीज आप ऑन पेपर दिखा रहे हो तो किसी और को दिखाने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं जाना चाहिए। बाकी स्टार्टअप्स बाद में बंद हो जाते हैं बिकॉज ऑफ फंडिंग, दैट्स अनदर केस, बट देयर इज अ ह्यूज लॉस फॉर द employees also who is working for you as an intern, as a full time work, right? So do not do kind of mistake from a day starting. You give offer letter, appointment letter, makes your terminologies and your legal appliances and the protocols very much clear in the paper, on the paper only. So once every code of conduct is very much clear on the paper, you and the employee will be not be in the trouble. So if any case have a false accusation, you can always show them. अगर आपके पास नहीं होगा, आप legal complication में आ सकते हैं. So you make sure that you had a proper on paper onboarding with everyone. सी, इवन ईमेल्स जो होते हैं वो ऑन पेपर आजकल काउंट होते हैं, है ना? तो वर्बली कोई एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेगा, वर्बली आपको कोई मतलब एज अ स्टार्टअप आप पे कोई ट्रस्ट भी नहीं करेगा। एक नॉर्मल ईमेल भी आ जाता है तो हम ट्रस्ट कर लेते हैं कि दिस एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ एनी कंपनी, राइट? बाद में वो कंपनी फ्रॉड निकल जाए तो वो बात अलग होती है। अनदर थिंग इज, एज अ स्टार्टअप, यूज अ प्लेटफॉर्म टू प्रमोट योर सेल्फ। लिंक्डइन, फेसबुक, इंस्टा, मेक योर ऑफिशियल अकाउंट्स, so that more the visibility you will be there, the more existence in the market you will be finding yourself, and people will be looking, oh, that's the existence in the market, okay, we can trust and go and work for it. Yeah, I get there's another question also. Thank you for asking.
So I guess we taken this question like what is the exact team size or what is the right time to hire a dedicated HR or take a
Hmm.
HR outsourcing.
At what team size should we consider hiring or outsourcing the HR functions? See, it's not about the team size. One person can do the many tasks also as an HR. Okay, it's depending how much team size you have in your organization. If it's 25, 10, between the 10 to 25, you do not need a 5 people of your HR department, right? One is enough. But if your size is between a 25 to 30, suppose, or 25 to 50, if your company size is, make sure at least you have 2 people. One is HR senior, other is HR junior. So if one is absent, not at least one person should be knowing it out. Okay, HR journalist and a main HR. So if any one of you absent, at least one team member should be there to function the department, and any complaints, any emergency can they can take the responsibilities. So, and if your company grows size bigger, then obviously team big. So team size also get bigger and bigger. So in my opinion, if it's a 15, something like that, you can always have one. But if it's like more than 15, 20, more than 20 you have, make sure that you have two. One is senior and one is junior. And junior also, if you cannot affordable, you can always have the intern. Okay, HR intern. In this case, student will come to know your company and you will promote yourself in the colleges also. And student get an experience of working also as an internship. So you will get easily find, and make sure that you give a stipend and a proper certification of internship that they can flaunt and you get promoted also.
That's very true. Let's conclude our day one session. So we gone through the introduction how HR is important in any particular organization, especially for our startups. We covered a strong culture of any organization. We had a discussion on foundation values and ethics of organization. You must have a code of conduct which is applicable to all the team including the founders. You need to minimize the micromanagement amongst your team so that they have a creativity and innovation in their work. There must be a strong employee employer relationship. You must use AI tools in your HR activities, and you must have a data which important for feedback and improvement of your team. We also grown through the very important practice which Piyush ma'am suggests that you must have a practice of pre-boarding in which you can send the thank you email, objective of the organization email, and which also welcome them in a memorable way. And Piyush ma'am also quoted a very important tagline like a culture is not a one which is written on a wall, but which is practiced on a meeting. So your meeting must be supportive to your teammates. And we wind up with some AI tools which startup founders can use. So once again, thank you so much, Piyush ma'am, for today's session. We hope we answered all the question of our viewers, and your today's session will be beneficial for other viewers who will attend through our YouTube live session. So thank you so much for your today's session, ma'am.
There's
Ma'am,
one
you are
last
on.
question someone's requested. We can take that and we can end it note. It can help someone. So we are taking one last question because someone has requested. How can we establish a fair performance evaluation system as a team grow? So you need a performance review. Okay, there's a 360-degree call review. You can take a review from a team and the colleagues. So you can just I will not go much detail. Like you can search on Google or something. There's a 360 performance appraisal is there for any team to get evaluated, and there's a lot of system evaluation processes there where you fill the form and other fill the form, employee versus team and colleagues fill the form, and then you evaluate that the person is a appraisal person or not. Okay, then you can employ performance that. So you can, if you think your favoritism and biasness will take make a chaotic thing for you, you can go always have a 360-degree performance systems, and there's a lot of evaluation system softwares are there which give you fairness in judging the performance and appraisal. With that note, I would like to say thank you, Ankit, for inviting me for a wonderful session of 3 days workshops, and thank you everybody who keep on very curious to asking a question. Hope we fulfill your question by giving a right add-on value to the answer you were seeking to it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am.